The graph depicts a comparison of 400 research students with an equal number of males and girls enrolled. Natural sciences was chosen by all of the pupils. All male students chose psychology and mathematics, with significantly fewer female enrollments. Similarly, engineering and programming had roughly 75% male enrollments and less than 50% female enrollments. Linguistics was chosen by over 100 female students and nearly 85 male students. In 1980, 1990, and 2000, the table shows the average yearly salary for bachelor degree holders in various areas. The yearly salary of business degree holders increased from $91,000 in 1980 to $105,000 in 2000, making them the highest earning workers of all time. In 1980, language and literature degree holders earned $64,000, $71,000 in 1990, and $80,000 in 2000, respectively. Graduates in the field of business made the most money, while those in the field of language and literature made the least. There is a pyramid of human needs depicted in this image. The lowest layers of the pyramid are made up of people's basic requirements, such as physiological necessities and the need for protection and safety. People's psychological needs come before all of this. Belonging and affection as well as self-esteem are included in this. Finally, the apex of the pyramid shows self-fulfillment needs if all of these requirements are satisfied. Self-actualization refers to a person's ability to realize their full potential. The overall message conveyed by this image is that people's most basic needs come first. This timeline depicts the world's population from 1650 to 2000. There were 550 million people on the planet in 1650. In 1850, there were 1,175,000,000 people, and in 1950, there were 2,556,000,000 people. The global population peaked in the year 2000 at 6,080,000,000 people. Between 1650 and 2000, the world's population grew significantly. The line graph depicts the 3-year costs for various one-time purchases in monthly installments. The number of people recharging their mobile phones online dropped from 1,000 in 2015 to less than 400 in 2017, but the number of people purchasing tickets online increased from 500 to 1,500. There was a little fall then rise in the number of people ordering food online from 1,500 in 2015 to 1,900 in 2017. Over the course of the event, food and ticket sales increased but cell phone recharges decreased. This process diagram depicts hydrological cycle. Through transpiration process, water from trees goes up in the air to form a cloud, while through evaporation process, water from oceans, rivers, lakes and various water body goes up in the air to form a cloud. Condensed clouds bring forth precipitation on Earth. Though surface runoff rainwater goes to the ocean, river, lakes and various water bodies, while through underground runoff rainwater recharge aquifers. Though capillary action, trees draw underground water. Hydrological cycle indicates that total volume of water remains same in the system. The graph depicts data on the demographics of the world's population. The graph shows that, among the world's less developed countries, a staggering 2 billion people are between the ages of 45 and 64. There are around 1.2 billion people over the age of 65 living in developing nations, as seen in the graph. When looking at industrialized nations, it's easy to observe that the lowest number of people, or about 900 million people, are over 65. As a whole, the graph is a wealth of knowledge. Flood data is shown in the graph. When we look up at the picture, we can clearly see streets and flood defenses, as shown in the graph. We can observe the damage to the hedges and gardens caused by the recent floods. When we look in the center of the photo, we can clearly see houses that have been flooded, as well as broken walls and gates. The roofs are intact and the colors are red and blue, which we can discern. When we look at the bottom of the graph, we can clearly see that the whole town was drowned when the river overflowed its banks. Finally, the graph depicts data on flooding. From 1980 to 2010, the percentage of males in senior development positions at 3 firms is shown by a bar graph. While there were 15% more males in senior positions at Apple than at the other 2 businesses in 1980, the trajectory was irregular, with a 2% dip to 13% in 1985, followed by a 1% gain 5 years later. Men held 7% more senior development posts in 1995 than they did in 1990. After a minor decline to 19% in 2000, males accounted for 25% of top positions in 2010. Men, on the other hand, did substantially better at IBM. Men held 2% of senior positions in 1980, with no change over the next 5 years. By 1990, the number had risen to 13%, and by 1995, it had doubled to 26%. Except for the year 2010, Microsoft's condition was less spectacular than the other 2 companies. By 2010, men dominated top positions at IBM, according to the statistics. For those who want to live a long and healthy life, this is the food pyramid. Water, the most vital component of human health, is located at the base of the pyramid. You may find whole grain items on the second tier of the pyramid above the water. In addition, there are a wide variety of fruits and vegetables available. Also included in this list as a healthy option are mild animal products such as fish, poultry, and eggs. Sugar and salt may be found at the summit of the pyramid, which is not advised. The finest and worst foods to eat for optimal health may be found in this pyramid. The number of legislation in Brazil from 1953 to 1993 is shown in a line graph. Since 1953 to 1963, the number of legislation has stayed around the same at around 100. After that, from 1963 to 1983, it gradually increased from 100 to 1,200 people per square mile. At 1,200, it remained, only to soar to 2,400 by the end of that year. To summarize, during the past 4 decades, the number of laws has grown steadily. An example of how a basic circuit works to generate light is shown in this method. The two ends of a battery are shown to be linked to the light bulb. Electrons go from the negative battery pole to the light bulb in order to turn it on, and this is how the light bulb gets its glow. When the electrons reach the positive pole of the battery, they've completed their journey. Ultimately, light is created by the movement of electrons from one end of a battery to the other along a circuit. For the years 1991 and 2007, the pie charts compare owning vs renting. Home ownership was the most prevalent kind of housing in 1991, accounting for about 60% of all homes, or more than half of all dwellings. The second largest sector was social rental housing, which accounted for over 23% of all houses, or almost one-third. The other dwellings were primarily privately rented, 11%, with just a small percentage being public housing, 6%. In 2007, the number of homeowners had climbed to 70%, or nearly three-quarters of all residences, after 16 years. In comparison to 1991, this was a 10% rise. At 11%, the share of privately rented residences had remained steady. Despite the same proportion, there were 5 million more dwellings in 2007 than in 1991, hence the number of rental homes grew. The percentage of Americans over the age of 25 who have completed a 4-year college degree is shown in this graph chart. As far as maximum educational attainment goes, the majority of people just have a high school diploma, 28%. This was followed by some college, 21%, BA/BS, 16%, 9th to 12th grade, 12%, graduate degree, 9%, and less than 9th grade, 8%. There was a wide range of educational attainment levels, with AA/as being the least prevalent, 6%. Overall, high school was the most prevalent degree of education, while AA/as was the least common. This map depicts the percentage of global GDP that each country contributed to the global economy in 2011. The economy of the United States, Russia, China, and Japan were among the largest in the world. Australia and Canada's GDP was between 1% and 3% of their GDP. Some regions in Africa, Asia, and South America have GDPs of 0.5% or below. The 6 largest economies in the world account for nearly all of global GDP. Answer in 3 points. This map depicts the percentage of global GDP that each country contributed in 2011. The United States, Russia, China, and Japan were among the world's 6 largest economies. Australia and Canada's GDP was between 1% and 3% of their GDP. One-word response. Various nations' 2011 GDP percentages are depicted on this global map. Different planets in our solar system are seen in the image. Following Saturn, Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. Pluto is the smallest planet in the solar system, making Earth the fifth largest planet in the solar system. Both Uranus and Neptune are also blue in hue, making them the third and fourth largest planets, respectively. Finally, the image provides a wealth of information about planet sizes. Australian wheat exports in tonnes are shown in the pie chart below. The bulk of Australia's wheat exports were of the general purpose kind, totaling 25,109 metric tonnes. The 6,309 metric tonnes of organic wheat exported from Australia were the smallest amount. For the vast majority of exports, wheat used for general purposes was the most popular, while organic wheat was less popular. China's power generation by type is shown in billion kilowatt-hours on this graph from 1994 to 2004. Conventional thermal electricity generated in 1994 was roughly 750 billion kilowatt-hours, which quadrupled in 2004 to around 1,500 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity. In 1994, hydroelectric power generated 150 billion kilowatt-hours, which increased to 400 billion kilowatt-hours in 2004. From 1994 to 2004, the generation of both conventional thermal electricity and hydroelectric electricity grew significantly. From 1979 to 2009, the graph shows the average cost of food in 4 nations. The highest increase occurred in the United States, which jumped from 60 cents in 1979 to 325 cents in 2009, an increase of more than 1,000%. The smallest increase was seen in China's grocery prices, which went from 60 cents to slightly over $150. There was a lot of price inflation overall in the United States, but there was very little in China. In this bar graph, we can see the quarterly sales of product Z as well as product Y, and X sales of product Z were $13,000 in the first quarter, followed by Project X at $10,000 and Project Y at $3,000 in the first quarter. Product Z sold the most, $4,500, in the fourth quarter, followed by Product Y, $2,000, and Product X, $1,500. From the first to the fourth quarters, goods sales declined dramatically.